I am 88 years old. 80 years old. Trying to get this set up so I can. I'm 88 years old, and now I'm in the process, 81 years old, pushing 81, of writing my epitaph. I walk around with Thanatos riding on my shoulders. That's a death instinct. I'm very, very, very aware of time. I'm very, very aware. I want to hold it back if I could. If I could just clutch it and hold it back. Not even turn it back, just hold it back. Because each day, I'm on borrowed time now. Each day is my clock running out. The sands in the hourglass running out quickly. That's why I don't have time for nonsense, for superficialities. And in the final analysis, Invictus, after all is said and done, after my epitaph is positively written by the Da, by them, I've no longer got a say in who I am. And even my say doesn't matter. It's immaterial. Then I disappear. And I really focus on that. Without being morbid, without going into a depression, but it envelops me in a deep, abiding profundity that I cannot shake. And predicated on that, it reduces me down to seriousness. In the face of the comedy, all around me call the sociology of the absurd. Seriousness in the absurd is a contradiction in terms. It's a paradox. And I'm talking about right here the existential paradox of life itself. But don't really call it life. I call it Dasein, along with Heidegger. Human existence, human reality that is under investigation. I don't know the answers prior to the investigation. The investigation demands questions, probatives. And probatives demand opposition, legitimate opposition. I can't countenance a fool. I cannot countenance whatsoever or tolerate a mocker or ridiculer or someone who wants to irrationally and stupidly gain one-upsmanship on me or enjoy merriment and gloat at my expense. I don't have the time to suffer such a fool. As I look at my hourglass, as I watch the sand running out, it becomes very important how and where you invest your time, especially when you get my age. I'm pushing 81 and I'm infirm. But I must go out writing my own autobiography, telling my story, not for public consumption, but to clean the slate. What I'm saying here is nobody will and nobody should give a damn about one word I'm saying. It's meaningless to you. It means everything to me, though. That's the paradox. But yet, a man has to make a public confession. Whether you do it to your Savior Jesus, if you so choose, to your priest, but you must make a public confession. We're not talking about sins. We're talking about a life account. We're not talking about good, bad, right, or wrong. We're talking about an account. Going back to the past and accessing the past and appropriating the past in a very productive way, holding it prisoner. And you keep returning. When I go back to the past, it's my past. If I couldn't historicize, there'd be no history. If it wasn't part of my Dasein, my existential. That is the qualities or the characteristics of my being in the world, in a mixed world with others. And try as hard as we can. I'm a loner by nature, self-contained. I'm a rock on an island. But even then, nobody's an individual. You don't have a society. You don't have a family, whatever that means. I put it under quotations. It's under investigation. Whatever love means, I put that under quotations. It's under investigation. Sex, the same thing. Put that in quotations. It's under investigation. To be considered. You still need a society. Because all the hypotheses, all the conclusions I draw about myself are predicated on encounter and confrontation, which then forces a society to emerge around me with protocols, with codes of conduct. You can't get away from it. You know where you're going to get away from it. You can't survive without it. So everybody, there's no such thing as an individual. Always is required what we call a social ontology. For the greatest defense of freedom and individuality, you must confront and comprehend being a nothingness. Jean-Paul Sartre. Atheistic existentialism. But Sartre has a different interpretation of individuality. But that requires comprehending the whole system. The one thing I tell you, don't want to be like Mark Levin, a very superficial reader, a man of no profundity at all, except for constitutional law, and a man who thinks two-dimensionally and draws simplistic, overgeneralized conclusions to prove his point. O'Reilly is even worse. And these fellas have no idea. It's unless someone who knows what they're talking about confronts and encounters them, who they are and what they are. No idea at all. Nobody has the answers. Especially nobody has my questions. Nobody has my answers. Nobody can walk in my shoes, only me. However, when I represent myself in a public way, I do it in such a way that you know what it is to walk in my shoes. Because I put the me, my being, who I am, on the line every time I talk. Whether you do or do not is none of my business. What you choose to do, my opponent, that's none of my business. That's your style. It's very important to take the blows initially and see exactly what your opponent's going to throw at you. Let him have his fill. Don't stop him. You want a full measure of, take your measure of your opponent. Size him up. Get ready for him. Prepare for him. Nothing replaces preparation. You should never, ever miss a chance to rehearse, to practice behaviors, and to train and prepare, prepare, prepare. There's no excuse for being caught cold on your feet. Because every time you're caught cold on your feet, think about this. Your opponent has already defined you, characterized you. And that is the same thing as him killing you and writing your epitaph. And I'll be damned if I'll let anybody write my epitaph. But this is what happens if you don't assert yourself in the now. If you don't establish yourself, and if you don't claim your rights and fight dog down to state them clearly and defend whatever you have to do, defend your image and your opinion of yourself. And nobody should ever be able to discourage you. And I'm talking about it from the perspective I'm presenting right now. Nobody should ever discourage you. Because think of it this way, when they discourage you, they're killing you. They're taking my life. They're trying to take my cyan out of my da and reduce me to a da. The cyan is human reality. The da is the there being. It's my plots, my place. And nobody, while I'm breathing and living, will reduce me to a place. I define my place. As long as my cyan, my being exists. When my being no longer exists, that's my death. Then I'm just a da, I'm just a plots. I'm a rotting, putrefying waste, just rotting away. And I am whatever anybody says about me. And then there'll come a time very shortly when I won't even be a memory. Bottom line. So what the hell do I have to put anybody on a pedestal when I think of it from that point of view? I am my own hero. I have no hero. You have to be able to look behind the scenes. Even when I see a show, whatever I do, I look behind the scenes. You have to be aware. You have to be a Sherlock Holmes and a Watson. Dr. Watson and Sherlock Holmes, the world's greatest detective. And existence, as far as I see it, is asking better and better questions of yourself and putting together better and better investigations and testing scheme to test it out. Everything has to be tested out. See how it works out. Hang it up on a flag. See if anybody will salute it. Throw it on the mat. See if the cat will lick it up. Toss it in the Bronx River. See if it'll sink or float. As simple as that. Don't take anything for granted. Don't assume anything. I recognize, I realize I've got to earn everything I get. I have to earn it. Earning it comes in many, many forms. Don't let anybody put a label on you. They're killing you. When a man puts a label on you, think of it as putting a bullet through your brain. It's a bullet that's tearing a hunk of your life out. Why the hell am I going to let him do that? As long as I know I'm going to get hurt, as long as I'm resolved on that, when I go into the arena of encounter and confrontation, I'm going to get hurt. The question is a matter of how seriously, but that's a given. And another given is nobody owes me anything, neither do I owe anybody anything. Whatever you get has to be earned by hard effort, hard work, in a situation of social extremity, in a severely social situation of extremity that challenges, and see how you come out. It's a hard-won victory. Most victories are compromises. And for me, I'm in a business of, I'm sorry to say, I can't live with myself over it. I'm ashamed of what I have to do, but I must compromise, negotiate, and if I make a little gain, it's more than what I had before. And I'm grateful and happy about it. I didn't win, but I got a couple of crumbs off of the cool guy's table. It's more than what I had before, and that's my gratitude. But remember, I'm a very old man right now. And I'm riding with Thanatos. My best friend, my closest buddy is Thanatos, my death. It's on my shoulders at all times. That gives me, again, the life, death in life seriousness. I'm not here to joke around. I'm not here to get one-upsmanship. I'm not here to win an argument by rhetorical persuasion. I'm here to have a good conversation between two reasonable men and see what happens at the end of it. I'm here to give evidence and argument for whatever I say. I'm here to give forthright explanation for what I said and did. I'm here with no effort to deceive. Put a period on that.